There is a place in Russia where people have discovered the secret of living in perfect harmony. A place where the children run free, where the earth provides everything you need, and where money is meaningless. Welcome to the Church of the Last Testament. This is Petropavlovka, a small settlement located deep within the taiga forest of Siberia, over 100 miles away from the nearest town. It looks like a elf village at like a putt-putt course. About 20 years ago, a handful of disciples came here to worship and live with Vissarion, or the teacher as he is commonly known. Today, Vissarion's Church of the Last Testament has over 5,000 followers from all around the world. About 2,000 live here and in the surrounding areas. I came here in hopes of meeting the man himself, who hasn't granted an interview to the media in at least 3 years.
Вы внемлите тому глазу, который не спослан ныне Богом к вам, дабы спасти вас.
2 decades ago, that man was known as Sergei Antoilovich Torop, a 29-year-old patrol officer who suddenly had a revelation that his was the word of God.
Так вот и постигайте все великое таинство.
Conveniently, this realization happened right around the time the Soviet Union, a self-proclaimed nation of atheists, began to crumble and religion became an acceptable topic of discussion in Russia. He soon began writing the Last Testament, a 12-volume follow-up of sorts to the New Testament, which details the religion's major tenets and provides answers to some of life's most mundane questions, such as which brand of detergent you should use. Labeled a dangerous cult by some, it has been reported that Vissarion and his followers believe in aliens, think suicide is A-OK, and believe that the end of the world is imminent. There are rules here that I was warned about. No cussing, no tobacco, no alcohol, no meat. I believe it's all vegan. I gotta watch my mouth because I have a dirty mouth. And I like meat. I like drugs sometimes. There's none of that here, so it's gonna be good to dry up. I was invited here by one of the church's more recent converts, a 24-year-old woman named Temriko, who worked as a lawyer in Moscow before moving here 3 months ago. She now works in the German House, a sort of guest house for the spiritually curious. Why don't you give me a little history of how you got here?
When I first heard about the teacher, it was for me like this kind of thing that, wow, it's like this is the only source of all information, of all answers. And this is a real teacher of the truth about the world and so on. Sometimes you need answers, you need just answers. And somebody will explain you like everything. He will explain your life, what are you doing this, why you have some problems with your health, problems with your life, for what purpose actually you're living.
I see. And one of the things that a lot of people have said is like, oh, it's a cult, you know. How do you feel about that? It has a bad
I don't think anything about this. Do you know why? Because I think that if some people find that this person can help them and they want to pray to this person, why not? Okay. Yeah. Why not? It's very good.
Is there anything that you perhaps disagree with here with the teaching, with teachings or no?
No.
Okay.
No.
Disagreeing with Vissarion's teachings is rare, which became very apparent after meeting Tanya, a patron of a local girls' school, a place where young ladies go to learn the discipline, as she put it. Is the part of the lesson plan set aside for a study of the teacher?
Девочки учатся общению, правильному общению между собой. Как правильно относиться девочки друг с другом, к мальчику, как правильно относиться нужно. И это главное в нашем образовании. Девочек учим тому, что мальчик – это творец. Он мастер, он должен построить дом, он должен иметь очень много разных мужских таких профессий. Поэтому обучение мальчиков и девочек у нас проходит раздельно.
So, do you ever have strong girls that maybe resist and they're not so with that line of thinking?
И именно когда так девушка себя проявляет как лидер и подменяет собой мужчину, тогда получаются негармоничные накладки. Если она так не сделает, для нее это очень опасная ситуация. Она может заболеть как женщина, потому что гармония Не кто-то, а гармония ее накажет женскими болезнями.
Спасибо.
Спасибо вам большое. Приезжайте к нам еще и привозите нам своих детей сюда, дочек, на обучение. О, девушку, чтобы она была очень хорошей тебе помощницей.
As tempting as brainwashing my girlfriend into misogynistic slavery sounded, I had mountains to climb and deities to meet. I had been invited to celebrate the holiday of good fruits at the Abode of Dawn, a small mountaintop community where Vissarion and his closest followers live. I stopped at the general store to get supplies for the hike. So I have the luxury of, after a 40-hour trip, of eating a CCC pop. We just bought provisions for 2 days. This is kind of the treat before. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be eating this, to be honest. I don't know what Vissarion's stance is on candy and ice pops, but it's hot, so. I climbed into a Soviet-era bread loaf and began the bumpy drive up the hill. We got a good crew just materialized here at the base of the mountain. Looks like we're about ready to go. My hiking companions had traveled from Germany, Slovenia, Sweden, and beyond, all in hopes of catching even a glimpse of the elusive Vissarion.
Здравствуйте, ребята.
Along the way, I met Maciek, a university student from Poland. And what did you come here seeking?
I came to see what it's all about. I was told that they share their wives. They told me that the people here will mess up my brain and that I might never come back.
We made it to what appeared to be a border crossing, and the attendant took down our details.
Америка, да?
Yes. Our guide, Nina, led me to the place where I'd be staying for the next 2 nights. The home of a lovely Russian family who immediately offered me cold vegetable soup and bread. Vissarion's serene gaze watched over us as we ate our blessed meal, spiritually charging us for the upcoming nighttime liturgy. We're gonna go see what worship is like here. I feel like I'm kind of in a different world, to be honest. The pre-holiday liturgy didn't seem too different from a Christian mass, but I would come to find out that things weren't that simple here. Still, the followers have been very pleasant so far. Only a few seem to have the crazy stare of a cult member. I ran into Maciek and asked him how he was settling in. How have the accommodations been?
Well, the accommodations were very, very well. I met nice people, we had a nice conversation, and then they asked me when did I accept the teacher and his teachings, and I said, well, I'm not really a follower. And then there was like a minute of silence, second of silence. That felt uneasy, but they got over it. But I think they felt a little disappointed.
Okay. And are you, they have our passports. So you're visiting, are you a little concerned about that?
I am. It's like, you yet still, I don't want to be insulted, but you come to the place which is far away from anywhere in the world. You come to people who are known to be members of a cult, of a religious group, of some sort, man. Let's put it like this. Okay. And then they take your passport away straight when you pass it. They are pretty persistent about that.
Yeah. Physically and spiritually exhausted from my long journey, I turned in for the night to rest up for the holiday of good fruits and our first glimpse of Vissarion.
И перед входом в эти чудесные врата помните о том, что вы входите в то пространство, которое мыслями своими, переживаниями и очень большими усилиями формировал учитель и те служители, которые
Today is August 18th, which is the High Holy Day of the year, the holiday of good fruits, the Church of the Last Testament's most important holiday. Basically, it's their Easter. It was on this day in 1990 when Vissarion first realized his divine connection to God and established his church. It's the reason that thousands of Vissarionites from around the world have gathered here today. We began our ritualistic procession up the mountain, a 5-hour journey replete with ceremonial washing. That felt good. mood music, and supremely positive vibes. Looking back, I think it was supposed to serve as a sort of mental palate cleanser for what lay ahead. Up the mountain we go. Part of the reason I wanted to come here, the world seems to be in a pretty bad way right now. This seems to be an idyllic community, so maybe Vissarion has some answers for us on how we could better live our lives. Or maybe he's just got it right and people should come here. They're actually pretty good musicians. Oh wow, beautiful. Found a little friend in this hole here, watching us. He looks very surprised, like us, wide-eyed. Stopping again for another hymnal. Something happened to me while I was walking up the mountain. Was I experiencing the initial stages of indoctrination? Everything looked so beautiful, and the people seemed so happy. I began to wish that I could be more like them. Slava, another in a long line of guides/minders, didn't want me to miss the site where Vissarion literally left his mark on Mother Nature.
The teacher, when first time on this mountain, take your hands on this stone, and after we turn the stone, we see this letter, the first letter of his name, Jesus. In Russia, Ha, letter Ha. You may see it.
Yeah, we should see. Is it okay for me to touch?
Russian Ha. Christos. In English, Jesus.
Christos. It's there. While the rest of the followers gathered around the stage where Vissarion would soon give his sermon, Slava took us to visit the monastery for young boys. Trampoline.
Jumping.
I'll jump.
Andrei is the master of those boys.
Of all the boys. Why do you live here? Why did you come here?
Для меня учитель открыл тот мир, который я всегда чувствовал, к которому стремился, я так всегда хотел жить. И я увидел, что тот мир, о котором я мечтал, это не фантазия, это реальность, его здесь можно сделать. Сбываются мечты, я всегда мечтал жить на горе, чтобы рядом было прекрасное озеро и заниматься с ребятами, делиться ими умениями.
We sat down with 17-year-old Ivan, who, among other things, was learning the masculine professions.
С электрическим инструментом, бензоинструментом.
How long have you been living at the monastery?
2 years.
2 years. And how do you like it?
Очень.
What's your favorite thing to do during the day?
Быть полезным другим.
Are you planning on starting a family soon?
Ну да.
And do you have in mind maybe a potential wife? No. Okay, that's it. We'll stop there. Spasiba.
Пожалуйста.
Beautiful. Wow, that's amazing. You can see they're clearing out this site over here, perhaps to build more housing, and their numbers are continually growing. I see why people stay, though. It's very beautiful. People who are interested in joining the community and living here, is there anything that one must do to become part of the community, or can you just come and live here?
Здесь нужно просто желание приехать и найти возможность своего участия по мере своего понимания, умения, полезности.
If I moved here, I'm an editor and a writer, so I'd have to learn Russian, but perhaps I could help with that.
You will be welcome.
Но профессия писателя тоже привлекательна, потому что мы стремимся создавать новые произведения, где отсутствует отрицательный опыт.
A place where negative characters don't exist. That sounded pretty good to me. Clean energy? Healthy living? Virgin brides? I started wondering if the abode of Don could be the place for me. I hurt myself. And then, finally, it was time for us to get our first glimpse of the teacher himself. Any moment now, Vissarion's going to descend from the stairs and address everyone here. And as you can see, everyone's eagerly anticipating it. I have no doubt in my mind that they believe he is God. And it's interesting and kind of scary to see so many people have so much faith in one man or God. We had traveled thousands of miles to the middle of nowhere in Siberia to see this man, Vissarion, address his congregation on what they call the holiday of good fruits. It was sort of spooky. Vissarion's making his way down very slowly, very Christ-like. And just as Vissarion was about to share some infallible nuggets of wisdom, they made us turn off the camera. After giving a short sermon in hushed tones, Vissarion blessed bread made by the community for the ensuing feast and bid his followers farewell. So we just have finished the sermon with the teacher, and Nina's going to translate a little bit for us of what was said.
I remember exactly his first phrase. I'm glad that you still survive. Yes, it was, everybody was laughing. Yeah, and then he spoke about that we, all of us are pupils. And in the school of life.
We are all pupils in the school of life? I guess that's true, but I'm not sure it provided me with any answers. I'm going to see if we can interview some pilgrims, some people that came to see Vissarion from afar. What is your feelings about Vissarion?
Такой друг, настоящий друг, да, дает, чем я хочу жить.
Why did you make the journey here today?
Здесь мое место. Это, чтобы это понять, нужно это почувствовать. Поэтому словами это не скажешь.
How did you first hear about the teacher?
Впервые прочитал журнал «Сигун и спорт». Я почувствовал большую силу в этих.
Compared to years past, does he seem happy? Does he seem in good spirits?
Мне кажется, о нем вообще сложно сказать, применить к нему какие-то вот наши обычные настроения. Сколько с ним вот общаешься, ощущение, что он в каком-то своем состоянии пребывает. Он хоть и рядом, но он где-то далеко.
After the liturgy, we ran into our Polish friend Maciek. How do you feel? I mean, do you feel that there's something about him that's beyond human?
I don't want to insult anybody, but I don't, no. I feel it's an interesting place and an interesting person, and I think these people around here want to live a good life. And I do appreciate that, but I don't perceive him as a divine.
After mingling with some members of the congregation, I headed to bed to rest up for the next day and my big interview with Vissarion. There's a lot of stars tonight. I was talking with Slava about the beautiful and clear nighttime sky when he told me that stars weren't the only things up there.
Sometimes we see it.
You've seen UFOs?
I see one time.
What did it look like?
A big object, triangle, and in a corner, 3 spheres.
3 spheres. Yeah, okay.
Other people see
it
too.
Yeah. The next morning, we got up bright and early and took a secret path to Vissarion's home. So we're finally here at the teacher's house, and going to interview a man that many people believe to be the Word of God. I suddenly became very anxious about my meeting with the teacher. What if I actually had an audience with someone who is the Word and perhaps flesh of God? Rocco, why did you agree to an interview with me? Because I know that you haven't for quite a bit.
Не знаю.
Are you regretting it now? Okay. I wanted to know about Russia. Was it a coincidence or was it just happenstance that this community came to be around the same time as the fall of Soviet Union?
Нет, это не случайно. В этот период должна была появиться свобода вероисповедания. Иначе было бы сложно. Нужны были серьезные изменения в обществе, которые выбьют привычную основу из-под ног. Нужно, чтобы к этому времени человек испытал жажду в поиске духовных истин.
I think I understood what he was saying, but I was struggling with how to tactfully ask someone who looks like Jesus if he's the Son of God without coming out and saying it. You're very Christ-like in your appearance. I'll say it this way. Do you have memories of Christ from 2,000 years ago? Do you carry on in that way, in that lineage?
Что есть память чувственная и есть память сознания. Сохранять тело с характерным сознанием нет смысла, потому что это характерное формируется благоприятно для сознания своего времени, когда нужно в каком-то теле появиться на Земле. А так как появление на Земле не требуется делать очень часто, а будут большие интервалы.
That's probably as close to a yes as I was going to get. It seems like the world is, there's lots of riots, there's uprisings. Is the turmoil and conflict in the world right now worse than you've experienced?
Сейчас можно будет смело сказать, что 80% населения Земли имеют серьезное психическое отклонение. Но эти люди имеют оружие на руках, а это растет дальше. Поэтому там, где слабее, там начнет быстрее все взрываться психологически.
Was Vissarion talking about Armageddon? Naturally, I was curious as to when that might happen. Is that coming soon?
Смотря по каким меркам. Хотелось бы, чтобы быстрее закончилась та дикость, которая так сильно проявляется.
Talk about dancing around the subject. I switched gears and, remembering Slava's extraterrestrial encounter, asked him about the church's stance on what they call the outer space mind.
Внеземной мир не имеет духовной ткани. Поэтому научно-технический прогресс для них – это естественная форма развития. Пик развития человеческой цивилизации и момент судьбоносного выбора перед человеком должен был совпасть с моментом изменения геофизической всей структуры Земли.
I have to admit, Vissarion lost me somewhere in between the end times and soulless aliens. Still, I could see how his followers could really get into this stuff. It's a hell of a lot more interesting than Adam and Eve and the crucifixion. The teacher's handlers signaled that it was time to wrap up, but I was determined to slip in a few simple questions that, with any luck, would be answered in a straightforward manner. How about food? What's your favorite dish to eat? Or...
Мне сложно так будет что-то такое рассказать, понятное. Немножко по-другому у меня воспринимается все.
A man without penchant, which apparently extended to answering questions in a fashion that I could understand. But this was my last shot. At the very least, maybe I could glean something about the purity of my own being. Just meeting me briefly, can you tell me anything about my soul?
Так нельзя говорить, характеристики какие-то, их нельзя назвать. Я могу чувствовать человека, но что в этом случае хочется услышать?
So, last question. If you could tell one piece of advice that our viewers here could follow relatively easily, what would it be?
Не стремиться быть первым среди тех, с кем живешь. Это стремление, которое ведет к гибели.
Okay. I'm not sure if I was supposed to or not, but there was no way I was leaving without a photo, so I hopped right in there. So, we finished our journey here, going back to New York City and pollution and terrible people. In other words, all the things that I find weirdly comforting. What can I say? I'm a man of modern convenience. But if it ever gets too much for me, if the scum of humanity becomes so sticky and viscous that I can't scrub it off, I know there's a place where I can drop out and be at peace. And the next time someone complains to me that everything sucks, or our problems are unsolvable, I'll just tell them, there's this place you can go in Siberia where they'll accept you with open arms. A place where the children run free, where the earth provides everything you need, and where money is